Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
Sometimes losing can be winning, particularly when it comes to your weight. So says a national wellness campaign that's challenging the public to examine their weight and health and talk with their healthcare provider. The campaign draws attention to the many health problems that accompany excess weight, such as diabetes, hypertension, and others. The Your Weight Matters campaign, produced by the Obesity Action Coalition, offers participants a free toolkit filled with tips to help people talk with their doctor and live a healthier life. To take the campaign challenge, visit yourweightmatters.org.
Live NFL and college football play here. Powered by Pepsi. WGS Excellent Haven, Panama City. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
There's no need to fear.
The Underdogs are here. The Afternoon Underdogs are on the air.
What time is it?
Live from the Slim Chicken Studio. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
All right, welcome into the Slim Chicken Studio on a Monday following a wacky week of not only NFL football where we saw a lot of upsets, but also in the college football world. Old school, we had a lot of things going on. Not only Friday, we had the Braves parade. What an awesome way to go out on the season. And your guys getting up there on the podium and saying, re-sign Freddie, re-sign Freddie. I mean, Dansby talking about not even knowing if he's allowed to do it. We'll get into all of that. Can't wait to hear your thoughts on the Braves parade. So welcome in Slim Chicken Studio. It's me and Old School. I'm David Hayes. Call or text the Rib Crib hotline at any point in time during the show today. 850-215-6290. We're on the radio at 104.3, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and our TV partner, blabtv.com. Make sure that you like and share the Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we're also on Twitch, Old School, ESPN Northwest Florida. Download the new app and register 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Have Dr. Tom today on the line with us at 4:30. Stop me if you've heard this 10 times this year. Kyle Larson wins. 10-time winner this year. Can't wait to dive in and talk with Dr. Tom today about what happened at Phoenix yesterday. A lot of great college football games, NFL games. We'll get you a weekend wrap-up. We had some boxing, some UFC, all kind of things going on in the sports world this weekend. Got some great questions today at 4:45 for Defend Your Stance. Trivia is brought to you today by Merchant Management Group. If you're a business owner, listen up. How much did you pay in credit card processing fees this last season? If you want to eliminate those fees, then call our friends over at Merchant Management Group, 850-747-0664. They're located in downtown Panama City, which means they're local and also will get you taken care of. We've got 5 restaurants on the list that will give you a gift card of $25, a digital gift card of $25. You'll get that through email or through your cell phone. We can text it to you. You got Hershey's Ice Cream Shop, Mr. BG's Diner, Panorama Pizza, Raffield's Seafood, and Shore Dogs. And all you got to do is answer the question. In what year did the Cowboys last wear helmets with a red, white, and blue stripe? Fairly easy question, and the answer is very commonsensical. If you've got a restaurant, if you own a restaurant and you would like to get on this list of restaurants for the month of December, give Merchant Management Group a holler, 850-747-0664. All right, I was about to call you Coach School. Old School, Nebraska. They kind of hung in there with Ohio State this last Saturday. And Scott Frost is coming back. He's got a clear plan and vision for the future of Nebraska and the Cornhuskers football program. They've agreed to a restructured contract. Is this a good or a bad move by the Nebraska Cornhuskers?
Well, that is a good question, and I don't really have the answer for it. I think it's mixed. I think it's good that they have some kind of consistency in the messaging and from the coach. But he's just got to get his recruiting better. He's got to get to the point where he's bringing in some talent that can compete in the Big Ten, and he's going to have to replace a quarterback with Martinez. So it could be good or it could be bad. Be honest with you, I'm surprised. I really thought that they would go in a different direction, but maybe after the article that came out last week about how many schools are paying coaches that are sitting on the sidelines now and how much money is being dead money out there for coaches, maybe they just decided, you know what, we're not buying him out. We're just going to restructure him and give him another year.
Let's get to the Rib Crib hotline, play a little bit of trivia. Andrew, you're on the air. How you doing today?
All right, about you.
I'm doing fantastic. In what year did the Cowboys last wear helmets with a red, white, and blue stripe?
1976.
You're absolutely right. The bicentennial year. Thank you so much, Andrew. Do me a favor and text me which restaurant you would like at 850-215-6290. Same number that you called. Tell me if you want Hershey's Ice Cream Shop, Mr. BG's Diner, Panorama Pizza, Rattfield Seafood, or Shore Dogs. Just hit me with a text there, Andrew, and I'll take care of it. Take care of it from there.
Okay, thank you, buddy.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. Way to go, winning Merchant Management Group trivia. We also love to play.
Can you beat the Underdogs?
A little bit of beat the Underdogs around here. And the game for tonight, Monday Night Football, we've got the Bears and the Steelers. So tell me who you got winning this game and what the score is going to be for the tiebreaker. We'll take the first 3 to 5 text, and whoever wins is going to be getting $25 to Barbaritos. We're also going to do, let's do an ESPN t-shirt. What else you want to throw in there, old school? How about 12-pack of Buffalo Rock?
Oh, that's perfect.
That is perfect, my man. All right, so 850-215-6290. Shoot us a text, hit us with a call, and let's play Beat the Underdogs. All right, old school, Florida Gators. Dan Mullen has come out and said that Anthony Richardson injured his knee while dancing at the team hotel. I also heard that they had 20 to 30 players dealing with the flu. We don't got to dive too much into the game right now, but what's going on with the Gators? Not only is this news that's popping out today, but also we've learned Grantham and their offensive line coach have been let go. I'll have his name here in a minute. John Hevesy. So what do you think about what's going on with the Florida Gators after getting romped 40-17 by the South Carolina Gamecocks?
The only thing I can think of is just panic. Panic on the part of Dan Mullen. He knows his job is on the line, and he needed a scapegoat. He needed somebody that he could say, hey, but this is the problem. Defensively, we were inept. Therefore, we're going to replace our defensive coordinator. We didn't run the ball the way that we should have been able to run the ball against them, and therefore now I'm going to replace the offensive line coach, and we're going to be better going forward. I just think that the whole program is just in turmoil right now, just over the fact that Dan Mullen just doesn't seem to have control of the team.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah, it's been a poor showing this year, and they've been close in a couple of games, but it's been very consistent over the last couple of years, and we've discussed it before where they just play to the competition.
They play up or play down, one or the other.
And when they play down, the other teams are always prepared to play up, right? And we saw it this past week, and they did that, and it's just an embarrassment.
But, it's one thing to lose to, a good team like Alabama or a good team like Georgia, but to lose to South Carolina.
Decisively.
And it was not a close game. It wasn't like South Carolina kicked a field goal with, a few seconds to go. And this was just an old-fashioned shellacking on the part of South Carolina. So, for Gator fans out there, it's a tough day.
Well, why wait to get to 445 to defend any stances? Right State Chris wants to know who's in a better spot, Florida or Texas?
Whew.
That's a tough question.
That's a good question there. I honestly believe that Texas is in a little bit better of a place just because they've already made the change. They've gone to Sark. Sark is, he's still playing with other people's players at this point, except for his first recruiting class, which was pretty good. Right now, his recruiting class for the future looks pretty good. I would say Texas is a little better off. Both of them are disappointing. Texas is a little bit different in the fact that Texas has played good in the first half on a lot of the losses, but they just can't seem to finish. So, from a standpoint of offensive production, they are being good in the first half and just not very good in the second half. And defensively, just run out of steam. I don't know if it's depth. I personally believe that's what it is. It's depth. But I think the Gators are just in disarray. Texas seems to have a little bit better of a plan at this point than the Gators do.
Boston, what do you think?
I think they're in a tough spot, man. I think it's. I have to agree with you, obviously, especially now at a three-game landslide here of losses. They're just. I agree with you on this, Webs.
All right.
It's tough to even talk about.
I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's hard for all, both the Gator fans and the Texas fans. It's because there are true high level programs, and you just expect more out of them than what we're getting as fans. Texas lost to Oklahoma, and they lost to Baylor, and I don't know who's the other one.
I mean, and like you said, there's the difference between the good teams, Baylor, and Oklahoma, and then losing to South Carolina.
Losing to South Carolina, that's the part that just really makes you wonder. And I don't know if it's, what the story is behind the quarterback getting injured dancing. But, I thought the night before a game, you're supposed to be in meetings and getting mentally prepared to play the game, not
Iowa State.
Oh, that's right. And so, I mean, I just don't know. It just seems like, in my opinion, it seems like Dan Mullen has just had his mind somewhere else.
And even when it comes down to something like that, that's a coaching issue, isn't it?
Is.
Why are you allowing your players to put themselves in a position where they're dancing or doing something crazy the night before a game? If you're going to be celebrating, it should be after a victory, not before. On a 2-game losing streak.
Right.
Yeah, no doubt about it. For me, I would say that Texas is in the better position, and here's why. Because they're in year one, whereas Florida, what year are we in? 4, 5, 6 with Dan Mullen here? You're losing your defensive coach who you should have got rid of last year or the year before. So there's steps that's going to have to happen. You don't have a quarterback in place, and Texas is in that same situation. But I feel like Sark, with being here in year one, has a better ability at this point in time. If we get to next year, Texas is doing the same exact thing next year that they're doing this year. Texas is going to be in trouble, and they're going to be in another coaching search within 2 more years after that.
I just don't know. I just struggle with the fact of it's not like Texas is playing poorly.
Yeah.
It's just they play well, and then they go to sleep in the second half. I don't know if it's the ability to make adjustments at the second half or on the fly. But, against Baylor, they played well against in the first half. Against Iowa State, the same. Against OU, the same. Oklahoma State, the same. They play well, and then in the second half, they just can't seem to get anything going. And then the panic sets in. And then when the panic sets in, we've all experienced it. When the quicksand comes, you can't stop it. And they begin to worry and oh, here we go again. And whenever any team gets the here we go again attitude going, they're in big trouble.
It's like having the yips on the mound.
Yeah, absolutely. Or even worse, on the putting green.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the second half, they're just stalling off.
Yeah.
You've seen them in games like you're talking about the Oklahoma game where they're putting up 38 points in the first half and then 10 points in the second half.
Yeah.
And then the following week they lose again and they put up 7 points in the second half against Oklahoma State. They get to Baylor, they put up 10 points in the second half. Last week, 0 points in the second half. And that's the time when it should be the complete opposite.
Right.
You should be just vamping up, getting ready to go and taking off, and they're stalling out at the absolute wrong time.
But the Gators, on the other hand, the opposite side is, they played Alabama, and they played them very well, and they ran the ball. I mean, they ran the ball really, really well. And everybody was like, okay, well, they just need to become a running team. They don't have the quarterbacks to throw the ball. And then they show up against South Carolina, and they couldn't do either one. They couldn't run it, and they couldn't throw it.
I mean, you heard the reports after the game, 20 to 30 players possibly dealing with the flu. I mean, I don't want to say a valid excuse, not for 40-17 to to South Carolina by any means, but you're right, old school. You try to identify yourself as a running team, and you look at a guy like Emory Jones, especially when Anthony Richardson isn't the fallback guy, if you will, and he turns the ball over at a consistent rate. And that's got to be alarming. And we've talked about how last year Kyle Trask was the guy, and the difference in he's the stereotypical type quarterback. Yeah, he could use his legs, but he had a gun for an arm. And not only that, but his skill positions, especially his wide receivers, were fantastic playmakers. And now you're going to guys who can't really throw the ball that well, and you're still trying to pass the ball. Get away from that. Understand what your identity is and run the ball, because if it worked against Alabama, and obviously we're sitting here looking at Alabama's defense, and is it as good as what we thought? Is the running game? I mean, 6 yards rushing in a game against LSU, a 4-loss team. You got to think, how's the committee going to take that into consideration, into account? But then on the flip side of that, so many teams lost yesterday that is, in a sense, in a weird way, it's like, well, they survived the weekend. Look at Ohio State. Look at Oregon. Oregon might have covered their spread there, but they didn't look great beating up on Washington. In the NFL, some big upsets. How about the Jaguars beating the Bills 9-6 for their first win on United States soil in 420 days? So what did you guys see, or rather not see, especially from the Buffalo Bills, but what did y'all take away from that game? I had it on Red Zone, and there really wasn't a lot of coverage for this game yesterday.
The only thing I can say is on any given Sunday.
Yeah.
That's all you can say is, Josh Allen, when, he's been extraordinarily good all of last year and this year, but he had a horrible game. And then where did this pass rush come from that Jacksonville
Josh
showed?
Allen.
Josh Allen.
That's a first in history.
Yeah, that's a first in history. But not only that, is that ever going to happen again, where not just the sack,
but also the interception.
And not just that, but the recovering of the fumble as well, which, imagine if he had caused and recovered the fumble. I can't see that ever happening, especially when we're here in 2021 and it's the first time
by players of the same name. Very interesting.
Yep, except for Josh Allen. The Jaguars' Josh Allen doesn't have a middle name. And Josh Allen, the quarterback, his middle name is Josh Patrick Allen. So,
well, maybe we just need to call him Patrick.
He kind of did play like he was living under a rock yesterday.
I mean, but we saw it throughout the NFL. Dallas didn't play very good against Denver. Dak was horrible yesterday. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you just think, it's just not somebody's day. And I think that was the case for the Bills. They were just not. They were not. They came down there thinking this was going to be a cakewalk playing Jacksonville. And they weren't ready to play. And Jacksonville was like, hey, this is an opportunity for us to make a statement. It'd been nice if they could have scored some offensive touchdowns.
Yeah.
But, 9-6.
Well, you even lost Trevor Lawrence for almost a quarter in that game as well. And then when he came back, they didn't need to score a touchdown, though, because the Bills couldn't score a touchdown. Yeah. I mean, what does this say anything about Urban Meyer and the Jaguars, or is it really just on the Bills didn't show up?
Well, I think there's a little bit of both going on there. I certainly think that the Jaguars defense came out and looked great, and they capitalized on what happened the week before. You saw that the Bills did the exact same thing. They get behind and they throw the ball a ton. They lose their balanced offense, which is what they're known for. In 2 consecutive weeks in a row, they have 2 relatively decent running backs in Singletary and
Moss.
Thank you, Zach Moss. And they have 10 carries in one game and 9 carries between the two of them in the next game, up against 49 and 47 passes for Josh Allen. And that's just not the way that their team plays good ball. And you saw the first 6 and 7 games of the season where they had a balanced attack with at least 20 rushes, and they dominated every single one of those games. And so they just need to get back to the basics for their team. And I think that's all they need. But on the other side, that's what I think that Urban Meyer took advantage of. And we saw that. And they played to those strengths, and it worked very well for them. I don't think it'll happen consistently, but I think it was definitely something that Urban noticed and played to it.
When was the last time we saw an NFL game where there's no offensive touchdowns. Since all the rule changes, since everything that they've done to free up the offense,
I can't think of one
remember
off the top of my head, but we got to get to a break. You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We're the Afternoon Underdogs, and we're teaming up with Panama City Toyota, feeding families for the holidays. If you know of a family who had a rough year and might miss out on a traditional Thanksgiving dinner, or maybe it's you and your family, nominate them or yourselves to win a free Thanksgiving dinner from Rib Crib in Callaway. That's going to include a smoked ham and a turkey. Submit nominations to ESPN Panama City at Gmail or text the story to 850-215-6290. Plus, all families are invited to join us for a free, delicious Thanksgiving meal at Quorum Steak and Egg in Callaway. When we get back, we're going to be looking at the scores from the SEC, FSU score, and the top 25.
Weather forecast overnight, clear skies, light winds for the northeast, 50 to 55 for the low. This double dose of high pressure is going to continue to sit on us Tuesday and Wednesday. That'll give us partly to mostly sunny skies. Temperatures not bad in the afternoon, about 70 to 75. Light northeast winds Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll keep you updated. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Mid-South Lumber, best little lumber yard in Panama City and Youngstown. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Baker Mayfield had this message for us in the media.
Within the sports media world, it's going to be the world's falling down.
Why do you care what we think, Baker? Who cares, or what we're going to think? Just play football. That's it. You don't get style points. And don't worry about what the media has to say. Who cares?
The Dan Patrick Show, weekdays 9 to 11 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hear that? That's the plumpest, juiciest hot dogs you've ever seen getting their grill on. But we both know what'll make it sound even better. Oh yeah, it's a Pepsi to go with your hot dog. Because when you're chomping on America's favorite meal, relish, mustard, and onions perfectly blending into a crescendo of flavor, there's only one thing that makes everything about that moment better. A cold, refreshing Pepsi. See what I mean? It's like music to my ears. Hot dogs. Better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
I'm Matt Glover with Aero Pest Service, and we are your family-owned and operated pest control company in Bay County since 1977. With the cooler season upon us, now is the time to be attacking those unsightly weeds that have been taking over your lawn all season long. We can design a specific program to help your lawn become and look its very best. Give us a call today at Aero Pest Service, 850-874-1900.
Live from the Slim Chicken Studio. Hot takes, the latest trades, in-depth interviews.
That is my reaction.
We break it down for you right here.
Very big springboard for the rest of my career.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
That's the problem right there.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs here. We had a heck of a week here in the college football world, and we'll start off with some SEC scores. Georgia just dominating, not stopping. Was the spread at 38.5?
40.
Oh, 40. So they didn't cover though.
40.
They locked it at 40, so they didn't end up covering. But Georgia gets the win there, 43-6 over Missouri, and they're looking by far and away the best team in college football. Do you guys think that they'll have one of these slip-ups here in the regular season? It doesn't matter now because it's Georgia, Alabama in the SEC championship. That's the game that we're getting. But are they as strong as they look, old school?
Defensively, they are ridiculously good. It's just they are just really, really good. At the end of the game, Missouri was trying everything they could to try to score.
Mm-hmm.
They had a first down and goal at the 2-yard line, and Georgia's defense just stood up and said, "No, you're not going to score," and they didn't, and they held them out. And but offensively, I was excited to see JT Daniels get some playing time. I thought Stetson Bennett was really good. I was surprised that Missouri was able to control the run game that Georgia, against Georgia. But I think that's what opened up for the passing lanes, and Stetson Bennett took full advantage of it. And JT Daniels, it was good to see him get some playing time because at some point, as Kirby said, he's going to have to come in and he could very well have to win him a game. So it was good to see him get some playing time.
One thing that really stood out to me was Kirby Smart. This is one of those games you can kind of have a little bit of fun with and experiment at the same time, but putting two of your big defenders on the offense there to help them get in on the action. Jordan Davis, we started to hear the murmurs of Jordan Davis for Heisman. Why not this year to have a defensive guy? There's not really a quarterback that's jumping out off of the page. There's not really a running back. You had Kenneth Walker and his hopes, but those kind of, not that he had a bad game by any means. I think he was still over 100 rushing yards, but he didn't get that win, which doesn't rely solely on his shoulders, but we know that better teams have better odds at winning the Heisman here.
Absolutely.
So
it goes into the thought process of the voters, I believe.
Yeah, that game really surprised me. For Michigan State to lose like that surprised me. The Alabama game surprised me. LSU really played with a lot of heart. Maybe that's what Florida needs to do because Florida's players didn't play with a lot of heart, but LSU certainly did. And A&M dominated. We got the old Bo Nix back, and Auburn didn't play very well. A&M played very solid. It was just kind of it was a weekend where you just never knew what was going to happen. Every game could be close or it could be a blowout.
And in both college and NFL, it was very interesting to see.
It was wacky. Yeah, so back to that Alabama LSU game, 2014, Alabama gets the win, but LSU had two quality chances there at the end of the game. Do you think this is going to hurt Alabama here this coming week when we see the college football playoff rankings come out?
I think it should.
Absolutely.
I think it better. I don't know how it all will shake out, but I don't know how you can look at Alabama and not go, they need to go down a little bit. And I don't know how far they go, but if they don't, then I don't know what the committee is looking for.
It's the second, third such game where it's been down to the wire with them when they're expected to be winning by multiple possessions. In this case, I believe it was almost 20 points, if not finishing at 20 points at the end, 28 points, excuse me. So what should have been a 4-touchdown game, just like the very first game of the year, ends up being a single possession game where really if Max's guys could have just caught the ball for him, 8 drops, that's a lot of drops in an individual game. If he doesn't have those 8 drops, he doesn't throw for 50%, he throws for 75%. It's an entirely different game. So, yeah, I think it certainly should weigh in when it comes to the votes.
Yeah, the amazing part is, we always think about Alabama, they run the ball and that sets up for their passing game. But Saturday, if it hadn't been for the fact that they could throw the ball wherever they wanted to, when they wanted to, for a certain extent, they could have lost that game easily. I just never seen Alabama get throttled like that on a running game.
Yeah, and they only rushed for 6
yards?
6 rushing yards. It'll be interesting to see what happens here. Alabama they're in the driver's seat in the SEC West, but if Auburn or Arkansas were to beat Alabama, then Texas A&M would own the tiebreaker there. So we've got long 3 games left to go here. Texas A&M, like you said, old school, all over Auburn, 20-3 there at the house. Auburn's looked really good at the house, but on the road they've struggled just a little bit this year. In the battle of Hugh Freeze, Ole Miss wins 27-14. Malik Willis didn't look that good at all, and Ole Miss got into a little bit of trouble for some of their celebrations put forth on Twitter, and they came out and apologized for those. They had a picture of Hugh Freeze in his hospital bed, and they said something. I forget what the caption was, but yeah, so Ole Miss got a big win there. Arkansas, in a crazy one, ends up taking down Mississippi State 31-28. Mississippi State missed field goal at the end, crushed them there. What did you guys take away from this game? And what did you take away from this game? I don't even know where to go with it because bottom feed us.
Well, the part that's amazing to me is, Mississippi State's in the SEC, and they are, they're having a competitive season. They are staying in the games, but they can't. The guy missed 3 field goals, including the one that could have won them the game. And Mike Leach is just Mike Leach. Afterwards says, "Hey, we're going to have a tryout. If you can kick, come and see me. As long as you can pass the NCAA whatever." But it just shows you that the value of having a good kicker. It helped Georgia a few years ago. It's helped Alabama a number of times. The same with other teams. But in this case, the lack of the ability to put the ball between the goalposts.
Well, Arkansas in this game.
Yeah.
Little had 3 over 45 yards.
Yeah.
That's big-time football.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You'll see it with the vast majority of teams in the NFL that the person that leads in scoring is your kicker.
Yeah.
It's important. And with a 45, a 46, a 48, and a 51-yarder, those 9 points.
That was the difference.
The game.
Just like the Jags, right?
Got him.
Yeah.
All right, you're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We got to run, get Dr. Tom on the line. You guys run to Blue Sky Car Wash and get that car cleaned off.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. What kind of pressure does this now put on Baker?
Oh, lots.
Oh my.
It's going to be immense pressure on Baker Mayfield to win back the locker room simply because a beloved player in Landry is still in the locker room. That's OBJ's best friend.
And Landry's a significant presence in that locker room.
Absolutely.
He's a heart and soul guy on that team.
Weekdays from 5 till 7, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Certified Gearhead Motorsports on Panama City Beach, directly across from Pete Edwards Field. Certified Gearhead Motorsports offers full synthetic oil changes for just $30 plus tax. Diesel synthetic oil changes only $85 plus tax. Certified Gearhead Motorsports. They do it all, from oil changes to engine overhauls. Call now for an appointment, 850-532-8783. Let them work up an estimate or quote of the repairs that you need. Call now, 850-532-8783.
Okay, divers, this one's for you. Not that kind of diver, this kind. Well, maybe you want to be a diver. Anyway, here's the easiest way. Not many people know that not only can you dive at the amazing Vortex Spring in Ponce de Leon, but you can get certified there too, all the way through instructor. And veterans, here's the best part. Now is proud to announce that you can use your GI benefits to pay for lots of it. Diving is awesome. It's relaxing and it's incredibly therapeutic. Whether you're rehabbing from injuries, relieving stress, or managing PTSD, it's time to get in the water in Vortex. It's awesome for families, couples, or just you. Weightless like an astronaut, coupled with the amazing gin clear water at Vortex Springs, surrounded by marine life. Are you kidding? What are you waiting for? Get hooked up with Billy Walls, now instructor at Vortex, today, online at vortexspring.com. And you want to know why?
We just do things different around here.
Indeed we do, ma'am. Indeed we do.
Bestway Portable Buildings has been in the Panama City area since 1989. They've been here longer than anyone else. The reasons? High quality, reasonable prices, and tremendous service. Stop by and see owner Jason Mulder and let him and his staff help you pick out the perfect building for your home or business. Just down from Harts Marine on North Highway 231. Online at bestwayportablebuildings.com. Member of the BBB. Bestway Portable Buildings. The best in portable, period.
Now back to the most dangerous afternoon show on terrestrial radio.
Danger's my middle name.
It's illegal in 5 states. The Afternoon Underdogs, live from the Slim Chicken Studio. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the Slim Chicken Studio right here on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Let's get to the Rib Crib hotline here. Talking to Dr. Tom about some NASCAR here. Dr. Tom, welcome into the Slim Chicken Studio.
Oh, thanks, David. Hope you guys are doing well this afternoon.
About as well as you could be, especially if you're a Denny Hamlin fan today. Dr. Tom Larson was in fourth place when that yellow flag, that caution dropped at the end there. All four drivers in the race took a pit stop. Kyle Larson's team had the fastest pit time and left pit road in first place. How impressive has that team been all year long?
I tell you, it's a storybook ending to a storybook season as far as I'm concerned. And you know that's a perfect example how you win as a team, because it was his pit crew that turned him around and got him out of there so quickly. And they said that was actually the second fastest pit stop that he and his team had all year. So that's on order of how fast they were and efficient they were. I tell you, I think there were so many amazing things that I heard there yesterday and read today. Mario Andretti made comments about Larson before the race, saying that the guy can drive any kind of race car and he's so talented. Tony Stewart came out today and has made a statement that Kyle Larson is, quote unquote, the greatest race driver he's ever seen.
Wow.
That's a lot coming from Tony Stewart.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's definitely high praise. When I was watching the race yesterday and seeing them all pop out, and Larson at that point, he was like 2 or 3 seconds behind Martin Truex Jr., who was the leader at one point. And Denny Hamlin was starting to make his move, and then the caution drops, and then they hit pit road. And I was thinking, Truex or Hamlin, they'll be right on or in good position here, and the next thing you know, they drop Larson's car, and because he won the pole on Saturday, he ended up in a great spot, and you could see from his emotions yesterday, crying tears of joy after they won. What do you think that this win meant to Larson and the Hendrick team?
Well, it meant several things. I think from an individual standpoint, as Kyle Larson said at the end of the race, he didn't even know he was going to be in NASCAR this year, and so it's a complete resurrection of his career. And I hope I'm sure the fans see it that way, for the most part at least. The other thing that, from the Hendrick standpoint, if you look back over the years that Richard Hendrick has operated at least one, if not all four of his teams, they have won 14 of 27 years of championships. So they've won half of all the championships that they've participated in between one of their cars. That's a pretty heavy statistic right there.
It really is, and Truex there, he led for 72 laps and had a good car for the most of the day. What did you make of his performance yesterday?
Yeah, I thought he did real good. I've always been a big fan of Martin. I think he's a cool-headed guy. He's not a smart mouth when he gets interviewed. I really thought it was going to be his until that caution happened. You had to think that it was he had a heck of a strong chance at it. But glad for him. Glad for NASCAR in general. Just an unbelievable season. I got to say one last thing. I think you guys know that I'm not the biggest Denny Hamlin fan, but I'm going to give him some credit. When they interviewed him after the race, he was very gracious. He said anybody who wins 10 races in a year is a deserving champion. I thought that was pretty nice.
What does that list look like? Drivers who have won 10 races in a year.
There's only been a handful of people. I mean, you can go back and look at obviously Richard Petty, Dale Sr. Of course, Kevin Harvick came close last year. I think if you go back, Kelly Yarborough probably would be in that group. Buddy Baker might be in that group. Bobby Allison might be in that group. I mean, you're talking about the best of the best.
Absolutely. So Chase Elliott led the second most amount of laps. He had 94 laps led yesterday, but he finished almost 4 seconds behind. What did you think of Chase's championship run?
I don't know what happened to him later on there. It seemed like he struggled on the restart, and actually more than once, because he restarted a couple of times on the front row and just couldn't, or at least no worse than the second row, and it just couldn't be as competitive. I would have to say I would think that they just didn't have the balance in the car the way that they would have wanted had, or as good as the other drivers had. And I think the other thing that's worth mentioning, and that is, I think you saw the four best drivers racing for the championship, because those four drivers literally were the first four drivers almost the entire race.
Mm-hmm. Up until the end, and Ryan Blaney kind of snuck in there. Back to Hamlin real quick. What did you think held the 11 car back this year, leading most of the year in points, but did not win a lot? What is the plan for Denny next year?
Well, that's a good question. Of course, he stays with the Gibbs team, even though he has, part ownership in the 2311 team with Michael Jordan. And I think Denny's contract is up at the end of next year. And so I actually look to see Denny drive for Joe Gibbs' team next year, and then likely switch over to driving for his own team as a driver-owner combination the following season. That would not surprise me one bit at all. I think they got Kurt Busch to jump into the 2311 second car for next year, and that's probably just a one-year deal, and trying to help him give Bubba some more opportunity and experience. So, but Denny will do fine. I mean, Denny's won, 45, 46 races in his career. I think if I look back, I believe that's the most number of race wins without a championship. It's certainly, he's the only guy that has been, I believe, in 5 championships in the last 6 or 7 years and has not won one. So in some ways, you got to feel bad for him. Beginning of the season, I thought it was going to be his season. I knew Kyle Larson had a lot of chance to do really well. Larson just surprised the heck out of everybody.
Absolutely. And of course, we want to thank you again. And as always, Dr. T, this is Boston T here. Thank you for joining us on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. If we could bounce back over there real quick to Larson and just talk about a couple of the records that he broke and or tied. And I wanted to get your thoughts on them and maybe what you think of the possibility of them being broken in the future. One of them, of course, him tying Tony Stewart's record for 5 wins out of the 10 playoff races. Pretty impressive. That was a record that he tied that Tony Stewart put up in 2011. The other very interesting one that I liked was, of course, him breaking Jeff Gordon's total most laps led in a single season record. Tell us again, if you don't mind, what you think about those records being tied and broken and the opportunity for them to possibly be broken again in the future.
Well, I think it's gonna be tough, especially the laps led. I mean, that Jeff Gordon was so dominant back at that time when he set that record, and Larson not only broke it, but he scolded it. If you look at, I think he's probably 250, 300 more laps led than Jeff Gordon had. That's going to be a tough one for anybody at the top. That really is. In terms of the 5 playoff wins, if you'd asked me at the beginning of the playoffs, if you think one guy will win 5 races, I would have said no way. And so, again, that will be a tough record to ever see broken. I'd have to be hard pressed to think somebody's going to win more than 5 of the 10 playoff races. But what a weekend, what a season! Crowd loved it. It's always good to see Mr. Hendrick so happy. He's been a tremendously major player in the sport, and he will continue to be. And I think one last thing I was thinking of earlier today. The Hendrick team was down. If you look back at prior to Chase winning his championship, they hadn't won a championship in a period of time, and they hadn't won as many races during that run either. And you look at them now with these 4 young drivers. Bowman had 2 wins, Byron had 1 or 2 wins, Chase had 1 or 2 wins, and Larson has 10. So, the Hendrick team again basically won half the races of the season.
Right, and just so you know, it was 261 more laps that he led than Gordon's 2001 record of 23:20.
Wow.
All right, I was close.
Very close. It's impressive.
And Dr. Tom, I wanted to ask, when it comes to the playoffs, how often do you see those top 4 almost finish 1, 2, 3, 4 as they did yesterday? Chase Elliott finishing at 5, but like you said, Dr. Tom, they were running 1 through 4 for most of the day.
You're right. And if you look back on it, though, ever since they started this playoff system, I believe it was in 2014, the winner of the championship has also won the last race, the championship race, every time.
Oh, wow.
And many times I can remember looking back that at least 2, if not 3 of those other contenders would have been running in the top 4 or 5 cars also. But to go 1, 2, 3, 4, that's pretty amazing.
Do you think other drivers in the field sometimes let the top 4 ease their way in to being up there since they're the ones racing for something? Or is it more of one of those pride things where they're like, no, sir, buddy, we're still on a racetrack regardless of what position you're in?
I think that's a great question. I think Kevin Harvick kind of answered that question for you because he was running up there as hard as he could early on. I agree with that.
Well,
Well, let me say this.
Go ahead.
Let me say this. You know, if you notice that in the championship final race, the other drivers will literally get out of the way for the 4 guys that are contending for the lead, especially late stages of the race. If you notice, those slow cars significantly got out of the way for those guys to continue to race.
Mm-hmm.
I like seeing that.
Well, we talked about, we were discussing a second ago, how close it typically ends up being there at the very end, the championship race especially. But is it very common for there to be only 8 points to separate first and fourth place when it comes down to the very end?
Well, the only reason it's that tight is because for the very last race, those points are all set to parity. So in other words, those 4 cars went into yesterday's race with 5,000 points. They're reset after that last cutoff race a week before. And so the fact that they were 8 points apart just speaks to how close they were, bottled up there at the end of the race running, in series 1, 2, 3, 4.
Dr. Tom, old school, go ahead.
Dr. Tom, with all of the attributes and all the praise that Kyle Larson is getting from, Mario Andretti, other people, is there a point where that he says, I want to go explore open wheel, or I want to go explore Formula One, or, a guy with that kind of talent, or does he just say, hey, I'm going to be the best of the best in NASCAR, or does he explore other options?
No, he definitely is going to explore other options. He's already won the 24 Hours at Daytona back in 2015. He's had all kinds of wins on dirt in open wheel racing. But I will tell you this: I read a great article back in about August, and I'm blanking on the guy's name. He's been around IndyCar forever. He passed away about a month or 2 ago, and he wrote an article and says IndyCar needs to get Kyle Larson to come run the Indy 500. I mean, that would be a unbelievable shot in the arm for IndyCar. And, we've seen these guys do it before. I mean, I think it started back 20 years ago with John Andretti doing it. And Danica obviously did it. I'm trying to remember if, did Kurt Busch, didn't he attempt it one time?
I'm not
to
sure.
run the double, meaning run the Indy 500 and run the World 600 on the same day.
I think you might be right.
He won 2 races in the same.
He ran 2 races in the same day.
Wow.
I take that back. Tony Stewart did it. Tony Stewart did
that's
it.
right.
He
It
ran
was
the
Tony
double.
Stewart. I remember Tony Stewart doing it.
Was it Robin Miller you were talking about?
Yes, thank you. I just was blanking on his name. Yeah, Robin Miller. And we, unfortunately, as you probably know, we lost him here a couple months ago.
Yes, sir.
That would be huge for Indy racing. Hey, Dr. Tom, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. We're up against the break. Talk to you a little bit closer to Daytona next year?
That sounds great, guys. Have a great end of your year, a great holiday season.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dr. Tom. He keeps us up to date with everything, gives us some great answers. You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, and we've got Texas A&M and Ole Miss, 5:30 pregame, 6 o'clock kickoff this coming Saturday, part of a bunch of games coming to you from our air. We'll be right back with Defend Your Stance.
Over the forecast overnight, clear skies, light winds for the northeast, 50 to 55 for the low. This double dose of high pressure is going to continue to sit on us Tuesday and Wednesday. That'll give us partly to mostly sunny skies. Temperatures not bad in the afternoon, about 70 to 75. Light northeast winds Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll keep you updated. This weather forecast has been brought to you by All About Garage Doors, your garage door repair specialist. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Some say he only needs one name.
Colin was fascinating today.
Others may feel he needs both. But if you ask him, you may just get this. It's Colin Cowherd, and you can listen to The Herd.
That's a really cool program. Really?
He's there.
Cowherd's brutal.
He's everywhere.
Hey, Colin, love the show. Thanks.
He's Colin Cowherd.
He's on a absolute tear. He's different, and it works.
Weekdays 11 to 2, ESPN, Northwest Florida.
That Cajun Place and football. 2 words that just go together.
There's nothing better than watching sports at That Cajun Place. 60-cent wings at $5 pitches during all live games. Monday nights, Ronnie Shriver from 4 till 7. College football all day. Sundays at That Cajun Place, NFL all day. Plus music from North Shore Jazz Band. Sunday brunch from 10 till 2. That Cajun Place, 5801 Thomas Drive.
Come on to DCP and watch out for Banana Sweet Tea.
That Cajun Place and football. 2 words that just go together.
Bill Bird Kia would like to say thank you to our customers for the support of this year. We will continue to be your local community dealer. Stop by today and test drive a new Kia and see why we have the best overall buying experience anywhere. You can test drive your holiday adventure in a new 2022 Kia Sportage. Purchase a new 2022 Kia Sportage and get up to $750 cash back. Bill Bird Kia appreciates you and will treat you like family. Bill Bird Kia, the original home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by 2435 East 15th Street, Panama City, or anytime at BillBirdKia.com. You'll enjoy the way we do business.
Cashback offer from Kia America equal the purchase of a new 2022 Kia Sportage model and may not be combined with finance or lease offers from Kia Finance. Not all incentive programs are compatible. Limited time offer for well-qualified buyers. See dealer for complete program details. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 1/3/22.
Damsel in Defense presents Defend Your Stance. Got an opinion? Time to defend it. It's the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the Slim Chicken Studios. David Hayes, old school Boston Tim. We're the Afternoon Underdogs, and this is Defend Your Stance, brought to you by Emerald Coast Damsel, Independent Damsel Pro for Damsel in Defense. And this weekend, they are right here, Laketown Wharf for Holly Fair. I pity the fool who doesn't use our tool. Y'all get out to Holly Fair, check out Emerald Coast Damsel, Independent Damsel Pro for Damsel in Defense. We kind of alluded to this earlier, but do we know a single thing about the NFL season this year, Boston Tim?
I would say not definitively. We know Odell's gone. We know a couple things, guys, right? We know that the NFC, as we've known in years past, is top-heavy. We've got 4 or 5 teams that are really at the top of the NFC that are separating themselves at this halfway point we're seeing so far. The Cowboys, for sure, the Cardinals and Rams looking really good in the West, the Packers and the Buccaneers, and possibly we still see the Saints having that victory over the Buccaneers, being capable of getting in there with them. But really they're separating themselves, unlike the AFC. We see the AFC having 11 teams being within 2 games of first place. It's a very rare thing to see. So we know that the AFC is certainly a more balanced conference than the NFC, and that anything at this point in the season certainly could happen as far as the playoffs go for them.
Well, I think what we learned is as the quarterback goes, so goes the team. And, you know, I mean, you take the Cowboys, Dak played poorly yesterday, they lose. Stafford played poorly last night for the Rams, they lose. Josh Allen plays poorly for the Bills, they lose. So I mean, it just you know, even the Saints yesterday, you know, they got beat by the Falcons. And, you know, they did come back on them, but then you know Matty Ice took them down and got another field goal win. Seems that's the only way the Falcons can win.
A comeback.
But it just seems like yesterday Joe Burrow had a tough day. They lost. So it's just as the quarterback play goes, and that's why they get paid $60 million a year or whatever it is that they're getting paid, because, I mean, with the way the rules are now, it's all about the quarterback.
Absolutely. I mean, you're absolutely right about that. You know, it's a league based around making those guys safe and happy. And to be honest, it's taken away. We might have seen probably the worst roughing the passer call ever yesterday. So it's yeah, it is just a quarterback driven league.
But it's a fun year to watch, though, when you don't know what in the world is going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, even the Vikings and the Ravens game, were we really expecting the Vikings to push the Ravens to the brink? Well, we've seen the Ravens in these situations a couple of times today, or a couple of times this year. The Cardinals, without Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, this is back-to-back weeks where we've seen major injuries to a team or major COVID things going on with a team, and then not even letting that affecting them and come up with a win. And then we see Aaron Rodgers lose a week due to COVID, possibly two. We don't have that verdict yet, but Jordan Love comes in and replaces him, and the Chiefs, who looked terrible once again yesterday, but escape away with a win. So a couple of things that we do know. Kyle Albertin says the Lions won't make the Super Bowl. All right. Yeah, you're right on. You're right on.
Well, that's a bold statement.
I can't believe you walked all the way to the edge of that limb like that, man.
Gabe Van Rick says no, and then he bounces back and he says, well, the AFC is weaker than the NFC. To a point, yes, but we're seeing some AFC teams take care of NFC teams. And so we'll have to see what the splits look like. But as the conference goes, yeah, I would say that the NFC is stronger than what the AFC is right now, because you're looking at an injured team in the Tennessee Titans, and they're at essentially the top of the AFC right now. Had a lot of help from everyone else in the AFC yesterday, no doubt about it. Let's see what else we got. No more on that. No more text messages on that. So let's see. What are you guys' thoughts on Jordan Love's debut start with the Green Bay Packers? He did not look very good, in my opinion. 19 of 34, 190 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, was sacked only one time for 11 yards and had 23 rushing yards to go with it. But it looked like the entire team was just out of sync for that entire game. And like I said, the Chiefs looked like, I don't want to say garbage because they got the win, but the Chiefs have been looking like the same team for the last month or so, last 4 or 5 weeks of football. What are you guys' initial thoughts here on Jordan Love's debut?
Well, first off, I would certainly think that somebody up in the offices there may want to apologize to Aaron Rodgers, because he was not wrong. Of course, the way that he has and always has gone about things is typically the wrong route, but he wasn't wrong. You know, he didn't like Jordan Love. He didn't like the fact that he didn't receive some portion of thought process about it, because I think that had they gone to him, he would have given them a different avenue and possibly thought about some other quarterbacks that are more relative to him, you know, because the way that he plays the game is entirely different than the way that Jordan does. And we saw that his connection with his receivers was just not there, especially on his back shoulder fade routes and things like that with Devontae. They were just not in sync together. When you complete 56% of your passes, you're just not going to be successful in the NFL. And when you complete 56% against the 31st ranked team in the NFL as far as defense goes, you're certainly not going to make it very long, not even as a backup.
But there's also a twist to this, real quick, before we get to Old School's answer. If Mason Crosby makes both of his makeable field goals,
absolutely, this
is a tie ball game and they're going into overtime. I mean, you can't judge what would happen if he makes those 2 field goals, because they were both fairly early on. One blocked.
One was blocked.
And then one was missed wide left there. So that could have changed the whole parameter, the perspective of looking at Jordan Love had he beat even a terrible Kansas City Chiefs team. Terrible is a little bit strong there. But Old School, what did you see from Jordan Love?
I saw a guy that doesn't need to be the backup quarterback for an NFL team. I just don't know. I mean, we saw him. I got to see him when we went over to the Senior Bowl, and it was he and Justin Herbert. And there was no comparison between the two.
No.
And now that's what we're seeing in the NFL. Justin Herbert is playing pretty darn good at quarterback. Just yesterday, Love just looked lost. to a certain extent. I mean, and this is not like he's a rookie this year. He had all of last year.
Right.
And so far this year, to sit and watch and to be in the meetings and to have all the reps with the second team, and he looked like a guy that they had brought in off the taxi squad and put him out there to play quarterback. He just looked unprepared.
Yeah, he didn't. He was nothing that he threw over 10 yards looked good.
Right.
I think 2 passes looked okay. Outside of that, he was throwing a lot of checkdowns, a lot of stick routes, or an out route.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, he just didn't look confident in himself or in the receivers, and you just absolutely cannot have that as a quarterback.
And you got to have confidence in your receivers when last week Aaron Rodgers made it happen without his top 3 wide receivers. And then I believe outside of for sure on MVS, I know that you had Devontae Adams and Lazard. If Valdez-Scantling was in the game, then you've got your top 3 wide receivers. You've got your top 2 running backs. There is no excuse at that point for any reason why y'all couldn't move the ball. And in fact, why didn't they rush the ball more yesterday with Aaron Jones? That could have been a huge day for Aaron Jones, but it wasn't. You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We've got to pay the bills. We'll be right back with Hour 2.
ESPN Northwest Florida. More Eagle.
Auburn football is back at Jordan-Hare for another Western Division battle against Mississippi State.
Bigsby jumps into the end zone. Touchdown, Auburn! Take Bigsby from a yard out.
Saturday with kickoff at 11 Central on your home for the Auburn Sports Network.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Are you ready for some football? So are the folks at That Boot Store. They have the latest in Western outfits, along with brand names like Wolverine, Timberland Pro, and many others, including Ariat and Old Western for kids. That Boot Store loves the Noles, the Gators, the Tigers, the Bulldogs, and Joe's favorite, Roll Tide. That Boot Store, your team's favorite Western shop, next to Bill Bird Kia on 15th Street. Open Tuesday to Thursday, 9 to 5, Friday and Saturday, 9 to 5:30. Remember what Joe always said, keep Jesus in your heart every day.
Barbaritos has been committed to serving farm fresh food since February 20th, 2000. For starters, Barbaritos food is made with love, straight from the heart. Every morning we begin preparing our food from scratch, from chopping fresh tomatoes for sauces to mashing fresh avocados for guacamole. Barbaritos cares about food. From serving char-grilled grass-fed beef as well as hormone-free chicken breasts to the amazing tofu for our vegan friends. Farm fresh is more than just a motto. It's Barbaritos' mission.
Barbaritos. We make it fresh. You make it yours.
Are you concerned about safety when you travel? Emerald Coast Amsel specializes in self-protection. They offer a full line of safety products like men's and women's RFID wallets and concealed carry for purses, lifetime incidental replacement plan, and manufacturer's warranty on most items. Give the gift of self-protection and contact Michelle and Rick today, 850-358-2810, or visit their website at emeraldcoastdamsel.com. Emerald Coast Damsel, independent damsel pro for damsel and defense.
Panama City Sports Monster. Powered by Pepsi. WGSX in Panama City. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Are you thinking about buying or selling real estate in the Panama City area? Think Real Estate is your team of local experts who simply love living and working in Bay County and helping others make their dreams come true through the exchange of homes and properties. We strive to provide excellent customer service in residential, commercial, and investment sales, as well as property management by combining classic customer service with crazy fresh marketing. Visit our website, whenyoutthink.com.
Green. The next evolution in sports talk radio. It's the Afternoon Underdogs. Inside the Slim Chicken studio.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Make it so. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into Hour 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs here in the Slim Chicken studio. You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. The Rib Crib hotline number is 850-215-6290. We were just talking about the Packers. Their upcoming opponent is the Seattle Seahawks, and quarterback Russell Wilson with his mallet finger looks a lot I can't do it because it's the middle finger here, but I have a finger that is just like that. So if you're watching on Facebook, I'll kind of hold it there and show you. Or we're over here on camera too. That's what his finger would have looked like had he not got the surgery. Now it's back to that, so he's good to go. But I remember when that injury happened to him, and I was like, dude, I can only imagine, you trying to, because it's when it's first freshly broken, you can't grip anything. I mean, the pain is overwhelming. So I could only imagine, and he tried to gut it out, but it wasn't going to happen. But he's in the game. He's cleared to play anyways. Cleared to play for this Sunday's game, and we don't know if it's going to be Jordan Love, or will it be Aaron Rodgers, or will it be Blake Bortles?
Well, if you're a Packers fan, you better hope it's Aaron Rodgers.
Oh,
Right.
There's no doubt about it.
For all of us, we won't really know until Sunday, right?
Sunday morning.
It comes down to Sunday morning, I believe, because of the 10-day time frame that he needs to in order to go through to pass everything, blah, blah, blah. So we'll find out Sunday morning in hopes that he'll be back there, because it'll be a great matchup if he is.
To the basketball world, Philadelphia 76.
I was going to say, I also think, and I brought it up last week when we discussed OBJ, which we can't seem to get him out of our mouths recently, but I think that one of these two teams will be one of the two teams that ends up locking him down at 4 o'clock tomorrow.
Seahawks or the Packers?
Yes.
Okay. Why not Detroit? They're first on the waivers.
He has the option now, right? So he can choose. And he wants to go to a contender. He's already said that,
no doubt. I was just kind of joking about Detroit being at the top of the waivers list. They should not waste their $7 million. Whoever is going to be doing this needs to be in contention for a Super Bowl, not even just the playoffs. You don't want to waste $7 million on a possible. This isn't the first team that he's had quarrels with the quarterback on. I mean, the reason he left New York Giants essentially was because him and Eli didn't get along greatly. So the same situation happened here in Cleveland. You don't want to bring in a guy who's not going to be a great addition to the locker room. And we saw that's why the Braves won the World Series, not necessarily because of everything that they put on the field, but because of the guys that they brought in just to be off the field.
Right.
In the clubhouse guys, and it's extremely important in the world of professional sports.
And he's really only had one successful season outside of New York.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he considered going back there.
Somewhere I would like to see him go, though, and I think that maybe it would work out because, Kirk Cousins is kind of a fiery guy. The Minnesota Vikings, they all came out and wore free Odell hoodies and stuff. I don't know where they are on the waiver wire world, but
they got, Jefferson went to LSU also, and so there's ties there.
There's ties.
I could certainly see it.
Well, there was ties with Jarvis Landry in LSU too, though, at Cleveland.
Well, he didn't have issues with Jarvis.
Yeah, no doubt.
His issue is always with the quarterback, because the quarterback. I mean, this morning Carson Palmer made a great comment about, he thought Baker Mayfield played the best that he'd played in a long time because he was freed up.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about how when he was quarterbacking, he had at one time he had Terrell Owens and Ocho Cinco in the same huddle. And he's like, you're looking around and you're like, man, I got to get this guy the ball. I got to find a way to get this guy the ball. And he said, and that's the hard part when you have a guy that's that talented. In the back of your mind, you've got to find a way. Even if the play's not designed to go to him, you at least got to look at him.
Absolutely.
And I think that wherever he goes, I just don't know. I mean, at some point, you can look externally. It's always the quarterback's fault. It's always the offensive coordinator's fault. It's always somebody else's fault. Sooner or later, you got to look in the mirror and say, well, maybe it's me.
Yeah.
And that's always the hard part about it. Somebody that's that talented, when they got to look in the mirror and say, maybe it's me.
What about the Baltimore Ravens, though? They've always kind of been hungry for that true number one wide receiver. I don't know if Marquise Hollywood Brown is the guy to be your true number one. I mean, he's had some big catches. He's also had some big drops this year.
Absolutely.
I wonder how that dynamic would be. But then you're talking about a guy who wants the ball all the time in a run-first offense, which is exactly what the Cleveland Browns. Why did the Cleveland Browns look like trash last week against the Steelers and then come out on the home field of the Cincinnati Bengals and hang 41 points or whatever it was, 41 points on the Cincinnati Bengals?
Nick Chubb came back.
Well, he was back last week, but he was back this week in 100%. And I mean, a big game from Nick Chubb. And that's what they need, though, because if they go through the run, if they become closer to balanced, even if it's a little bit more run heavy, but the closer that any team is, you were talking about the Buffalo Bills earlier.
Absolutely.
When they're on a nearer trend to a balanced offense, they're going to perform better because what does that do? It keeps the defense on their toes and guessing.
And honest. Absolutely. Yeah. And you see it with mediocre quarterbacks that have great running backs a lot. And you've seen it over the course of the last couple of years with Ryan Tannehill.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he looks exceptional at some points when we know he's a good quarterback, but he's not a great quarterback.
Right. No doubt about it.
But he plays exceptionally well when he has the opportunity to have an open field for his players, nobody getting double teamed because everybody in the box has to be honest because they have the monster coming towards them.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a person that demands more than one at every point in time.
Yeah.
And when you have that with somebody like him or a Taylor we're seeing over the last couple of years or Nick Chubb these last couple of years, you have to be honest, and that opens up your wide receivers. And if you have just a tenth of a second extra, it makes a huge difference for a quarterback.
And we sit here and we talk all the time about explosive offenses, having a mobile quarterback. But what we're seeing is these teams with great running backs are doing. Especially look at the Colts. If they didn't have Jonathan Taylor, they wouldn't even be in the running right now for or have the opportunity to be as close to the Titans as what they are.
Agreed.
Nick Chubb and the Browns. If they don't have Chubb, I don't think the Browns are. What are they? 5-4 right now. They're not 5-4 without Nick Chubb. And the Titans don't win that game last night, in my opinion, without the previous 2 years of building, or the 3 years of building their offense in the direction that it stayed last night, in a sense. Even though they didn't have the dominant running back, the game plan didn't change that much, and so they were able to utilize play action and stuff and came away with a win that no one was expecting. Not as big, in my opinion, as the Jags beating the Bills, but still a pretty big upset.
Absolutely. And we talk about the necessity for the running back to be strong. We saw the same thing, and a lot of people are pointing fingers again at Dak Prescott with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
But when you have Zeke Elliott going for more than 75 yards in 6 consecutive games, you get 6 consecutive wins. He drops back down to 50 on this one. And where are we
And
at?
how many carries did he have, though? I believe it was only 10 carries.
Right.
Get the ball in his hands some more.
He should be carrying it 16 to 20, and on occasions 22 or 24 times a game.
Use Pollard as the change of pace back or the dual threat back or the receiving back, and then and you can use Zeke that way too, but get the ball into Zeke's hands so that the play action opens up. Utilize the speed from your wide receivers in that play action because you've got some good ones over there. For you not to score 16 points until the end of the game is kind of ludicrous, and then both of your touchdowns are going to, which doesn't matter in the long run, you know what I mean? But Malik Turner, did you guys know his name before yesterday? You know what I mean? And you've got CeeDee Lamb over there, Amari Cooper, Cedric Wilson's been coming on lately. The tight end and Dalton Schultz, been making big strides this year. Let's get to some of the rest of these headlines, and we'll get into some more NFL games here in this next segment. Joel Embiid tests positive for COVID. He's expected to miss several games. Boston Celtics, Jaylen Brown out 1 to 2 weeks with a hamstring injury. That's one of the guys that makes Boston go. And there's also been a report of a possible Ben Simmons deal. How does that make you feel as a Celtics fan?
Well, it was a tough conversation at first, just thinking about him coming over to us. But then the thought of there being a trade and losing Jaylen Brown for him astonishes me, which is why I think it fizzled off very fast, because as we've seen with other teams in Golden State and other people that were interested in Ben Simmons, they're not going to have the opportunity because Philadelphia just refuses to come off their asking price. So I don't think that it was ever going to come to fruition where Jaylen would be a part of that deal, and that's why it died off.
Texas Tech's already made a big splash, and they're hiring a Baylor associate coach, Joey McGuire. He's going to be the next head football coach at Texas Tech. Obviously, we've seen some good things from Baylor, but we just saw a bad thing from Baylor as well. And TCU's interim coach getting a big W over Baylor. It wasn't in Waco, but still, big win there for TCU. So hopefully Texas Tech will be on the mend soon. Houston Astros third baseman Alex Bregman has right wrist surgery. He's expected to be ready for spring training. That's good news for the Astros. Florida fires defensive coordinator Todd Grantham, offensive line coach John Hevesy, and then Panthers coach. I've been waiting to get to this one for old school. Matt Rule says Sam Darnold is going to get an MRI, but doesn't commit to him as a starter if healthy. Old school, I know that's got to ring music to your ears, and you can say it once again, those 3 words no one wants to hear.
Told you so.
There you go, man. Another 3 interception game from him yesterday. Another big win from the Patriots, though. But 3 interceptions, and you just cannot turn the ball over in this league. And he's doing it weeks on weeks in a row. And we all had high hope. We saw the Panthers, 3-0. They're oh, man. Sam Darnold, it was just the Jets, And now we're seeing what old school said from the beginning. He's not that good. So I've been wrong about this kid since the Rose Bowl in 2015 or whatever, where it was Penn State and USC. Oh, man, because I had high hopes for him, but it's just not working out. Which direction, though, is it going to be for the Panthers? Are they going to go with PJ?
Oh, I don't know what they're going to do at this point. I mean, the thing about it, if you go with Sam Darnold, you're going to have moments of just, wow, okay, that's an NFL quarterback. And then you're going to have moments where it's, wow, how is that guy in the league?
Yeah.
And that's what unfortunately, it's been that way since he was in college. When he was at USC, he would make plays and you would go, oh, yeah, there's an NFL quarterback. And then he would make a play and you would, what was he thinking?
Yeah.
And that's just been, and all that Sam Darnold needs to do to be an NFL quarterback, because he has the talent. He has the arm strength. He has the size. He has everything that you want. He just has to be more consistent. And that's what all of these NFL quarterbacks are. The good ones are. They are consistent.
Well, I think that he is consistent, but it's just not in the right way.
Consistently,
right? He consistently makes bad decisions. If he would just throw the ball away, that's all he needs to do. Throw the ball away. If you have to make it to your third check down and it's not there, just throw it away.
Right.
Don't try to tuck it and fumble it, or don't try to just throw a crazy pass in a double team, which we're seeing a lot of this year with 11 interceptions and only 7 touchdowns. That's ridiculous. You have to throw the ball away, and he just still hasn't picked that up, which is third season in is astonishing to me. 4th season, excuse me.
Washington, the Huskies, their coach Jimmy Lake's been suspended for the Arizona State game. Had a little sideline altercation with the player. The game was on ABC, and the camera showed him, coach, rushing over to linebacker Ruperake Flyvi. I probably just butchered that name, but he had been, running his mouth with the Oregon player, and then Lake swung his right hand into the helmet of Fuvai, and Lake also shoved him in the back there. And he says, this is a quote from him, "The guys were chirping back and forth. One of our players was up in an Oregon player's face, and I went to separate them and push him back. After that, we settled down a little bit. That was our deal all week long. You've got to have poise. We knew this was going to be a very heated matchup, and there was going to be a lot of trash talking. When we stepped in there, we were glad that a penalty wasn't thrown on our guys to put us back even further on that kickoff return." He was asked if he regretted striking the player. He replied, "I separated him. I didn't strike him. I separated him." Which, if you're a head coach and your guy is sitting there jawing with another player, isn't it your job, especially when y'all have had meetings all week long about don't go back and forth and jaw with them? Look at the Sunday Night Football game last night. Jalen Ramsey, A.J. Brown going at it all game long. I just don't think – I'm not going to say that it's warrants for suspension or anything, but I feel like coach was doing his job. There's got to be some type of discipline there. It may be if he hits the kid that doesn't have a helmet on, sure, you hit him in the side of that, but he's got a helmet on, all right? He gets hit every day in practice. Way worse than that, and I'm sure that coach slaps him on the head sometimes in practice a little harder than that when he makes a boneheaded play. I mean, maybe I'm just living in the past, but I just don't see the suspension here really.
I can't believe I agree with this young buck. But he's right. I mean, this is ridiculous. If a coach has to tell you multiple times, he might as well come up and slap you in the side of the head because obviously you're not listening, right? And I agree. If the guy has his helmet off and you slap him in the side of the head, it's blatantly disrespectful. If he's got his helmet on and you're his coach, you slap him on the side of the head. Get his attention. Absolutely. Separate him from the player. Do what
did our coaches used to do back in the day?
Shove him.
He'd grab us by the face mask and then headbutt us with their bare heads.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I knew what my coach ate for lunch.
Yeah.
4 days a week for 4 months out of the year.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Different world that we're living in, but man, I tell you what, it's crazy.
There's just too many cameras up and everything.
Yeah.
And we make more out of it than the players and coaches do, certainly.
That's true. I would definitely be interested in seeing how the player felt about this suspension, but who knows? You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. When we get back, we're going to break down some of the NFL games of the week.
My weather forecast overnight, clear skies, light winds for the northeast, 50 to 55 for the low. This double dose of high pressure is going to continue to sit on us Tuesday and Wednesday. That'll give us partly to mostly sunny skies. Temperatures not bad in the afternoon, about 70 to 75. Light northeast winds Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll keep you updated. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Mid-South Lumber, best little lumber yard in Panama City and Youngstown. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
The new app from 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida is designed specifically for sports fanatics like you. The sports content you demand is always on. Live stream our national and local sports talk anywhere you go. Reach us on all social media. You can also be a part of the show. Call and text into our studios. Plus, up-to-the-minute weather and traffic maps. The new app from 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida is available at the Apple Store and Google Play.
Okay, divers, this one's for you. Not that kind of diver. This kind. Well, maybe you want to be a diver. Anyway, here's the easiest way. Not many people know that not only can you dive at the amazing Vortex Spring in Ponce de Leon, but you can get certified there too, all the way through instructor. And veterans, here's the best part. Now is proud to announce that you can use your GI benefits to pay for lots of it. Diving is awesome. It's relaxing and it's incredibly therapeutic. Whether you're rehabbing from injuries, relieving stress, or managing PTSD, it's time to get in the water in Vortex. It's awesome for families, couples, or just you. Weightless like an astronaut, coupled with the amazing gin clear water at Vortex Springs, surrounded by marine life. Are you kidding? What are you waiting for? Get hooked up with Billy Walls, now instructor at Vortex, today, online at vortexspring.com. And you want to know why?
We just do things different around here.
Indeed we do, ma'am. Indeed we do.
That Cajun Place and football. 2 words that just go together.
There's nothing better than watching sports at That Cajun Place. 60-cent wings at $5 pitches during all live games. Monday nights, Ronnie's Driver for 4 till 7. College football all day. Sundays at That Cajun Place, NFL all day. Plus music from North Shore Jazz Band. Sunday brunch from 10 till 2. That Cajun Place, 5801 Thomas Drive.
Come on to DCP and watch out for Banana Sweet Tea.
That Cajun Place and football. 2 words that just go together.
We are live and local. From Camp Helen State Park to the historic Martin Theater.
Definitely time to let our hair down and have some fun.
It's the Afternoon Underdogs. Live from the Slim Chicken Studio. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the Afternoon Underdogs here in the Slim Chicken Studio on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. I already told you about Texas A&M and Ole Miss this Saturday, 5:30, 6 p.m. kickoff. Before that, though, at 10 a.m. for the pregame, we're going to have Mississippi State and Auburn, so a day full of SEC football for you here on our air. And then Sunday, the Browns at the Patriots, followed by the Panthers at the Cardinals, and the nightcap for Sunday Night Football is going to be the Chiefs at the Raiders, so we'll have some great football for you here on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Old school, let's lead off with that, though. Last night, the Titans on Sunday Night Football put on a show. They were up 21-3 at halftime, final score being 28-16. What was going on with Matthew Stafford? I'll ask the question that you asked us.
I don't know. I mean, everybody has sung his praises all year long, and he looked like the old
Lions Matthew
quarterback.
Stafford.
It's like
Look like John.
He looked.
He looked like Jared Goff.
Oh, he made Jared Goff look good last night. Because I mean that pass from the end zone. I don't know. Was he trying to get a safety and they just spun him around to the point where he threw it back into the field to play?
I don't get that at all. Why he threw that ball? Because he was already going down. So yeah, I mean, I guess in your mind, especially when you're panicking, right? Because you're being slung around at that point in time. It's like, well, I'll just throw this and we won't get a safety. But well, would you rather have a safety or the defense put 7 up on you?
Take the safety. I mean, at that point, I mean, if you're in the grasp and they're spinning you around, I mean, I'd love to know, was he trying to throw it out of bounds or out the back of the end zone to just get the safety and get out?
In which case, you should have just taken the sack.
Or just take the sack, one or the other.
Because it would have been 9-3. Yeah, it would have been 9-3 at that point had they got the safety because Tennessee was already up 7-3, so they would have got the safety 9-3. And let's not kid ourselves and say that the Titans were just moving the ball all up and down that defense last night. They had a few good drives, but outside of that, everything was basically the Rams putting the ball in the hands of the Tennessee Titans defense. And you've got to give a big shout out to Kevin Byard and the defense that he's been playing here in the last month.
Oh, the Titans defense they've really
unrecognizable.
They've really been coming on. It's just weird how a team. Everybody was talking about the Rams being, a real contender for the Super Bowl, and maybe they are. Maybe it was just a bad game.
Absolutely, it absolutely was.
Yeah.
Nothing went in their favor that game. Poor decisions by Matt. 2 consecutive interceptions is the difference in the game. Absolutely, but then on top of it, you have 12 penalties as opposed to 4.
Right.
So 3 times the amount of penalties, all of them going for bringing it to a total of over 110 yards.
And this was
that's a game changer.
And they're the least at home, and they're the least penalized team in the nation, I believe, not in the nation, but in the NFL.
Yeah,
absolutely. There is no point in time in a game where Matt Stafford's leading that he and his team go for 350 yards and they hold the other team for under 200 and they lose the game. That should never happen. But that's what happened, and that's what happens when you have 2 spectacular defensive plays like they did.
I mean, it's just sometimes in the NFL you just get these Sundays where you just kind of go, what? Was there like some kind of shift in the lunar orbit kind of thing or something? Because
there is something going on.
There was so many weird things that happened over the weekend that you just wonder about.
And 2 weekends in a row, actually. So last weekend was the first weekend where outright the underdogs won more games than the teams that were supposed to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this week, if the Bears win tonight, it will be 2 consecutive weeks. Will be the first time in the modern football era since the Super Bowl was introduced that the underdogs have won more games 2 consecutive weeks in a row.
Is that an indictment on Vegas on the lines, or is that just where we're at?
Well, we're coming up on
football?
Super Bowl 55, 54, 56. So this is the first time it's happened in 56 years.
Yeah.
So it certainly can't be. It's more of an anomaly, I would say.
It's I mean,
now if it continues to happen, then there's something happening in the world.
And not necessarily. I think that if Derrick Henry was playing in that ball game last night, it's not just everyone picking the Rams. You know what I mean? Like that game's not as much of an upset as what it seems because Derrick Henry wasn't in the game. You know what I mean? It's like, well, they've lost their offense. 79% of their yards come through Derrick Henry. But I also don't want to lose sight of the fact that this is the same team that, and you got to kind of take the Chiefs win out of being impressive, but not only lost to the Jets, but ever since that loss to the Jets, wins against the Bills, wins against the Rams. You know, those are big wins. And yeah, Von Miller wasn't in the game last night, but he hasn't been on their team to this point this year. You know what I mean? So I don't want to lose sight of that, but the AFC is wacky, and we're going to have a long run to the finish line. But that was a huge win for the Titans just in terms of now it's that much harder for the Colts to try to win the AFC South with or without Derrick Henry on the Titans sideline.
I just think that we were talking, I think last week we were trying to identify the top teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
So you would say, okay, the Rams have been one of the top 10s. The
Cardinals. Absolutely.
The Cowboys.
Packers
Buffalo,
have been in top
the
10.
Packers.
Mm-hmm.
So let's, take the top 6. All right. So then you look at, okay, who lost this weekend?
Mm-hmm.
And the Cowboys lost in a bad way.
Right.
The
Packers
look terrible. They lose.
Bills.
The Bills look terrible. They lose.
Ravens got the win, but
it was a hard fought.
Mm-hmm. Which has been multiple games for the Ravens this year, which makes them strong.
And the Saints, they were having a good year.
Buffalo.
I mean, so sometimes it's just one of those things. It's an old saying in NFL football, but on any given Sunday, any team can beat another team.
You're absolutely right.
And that's just the way it is.
I'm pretty certain that it's just the Manning curse, right? Did you guys read about the Manning curse?
Mm-mm.
So far, every player that's been on the Manning show has lost the following week.
Outside of Sue Bird, though.
Including Brady last week and Josh Allen this past week.
Oh, yeah. All right, Tannehill. No baddie for the Titans. Get on the Vandercast
Travis
anytime
Kelce,
soon.
week 1. Yeah. Russell Wilson,
what happened
week
to
2.
Kelce? I mean, Kelce.
Gronkowski, Matt Stafford, all have lost after being on the show.
I mean, it's not just Kelce, though. It's that entire
I
offense
understand,
for
but
the Chiefs.
Kelce's considered to be one of the best, if not the best tight end in football.
Mm-hmm.
And he's dropping balls. He I don't know what's going on with Travis Kelce. Did he just have a baby too?
I feel like the whole team's watching that kid. I don't know what's going on.
One quick point extra on top of this. Kyle Albritton just sent me this, and this is just a cool stat about Adrian Peterson. He got a touchdown last night. Ended up giving, I believe, his jersey to his dad after the game, which was really cool for him. Weird seeing him in number 8, though. Can I get any agreements on that?
Yeah, I agree with that.
But so when he scored his first career rushing touchdown, September 23rd, 2007, Antoine Winfield and Patrick Surtain both started in that game. Now, both of them have sons in the NFL.
That's right.
Wow.
That's how long.
Wow.
That's how long
How old is that guy?
Adrian Peterson,
Yeah,
I believe he's 35 or 36. One of those two numbers right there.
Unbelievable.
So, yeah, what a career he's had. We were talking about that when he first got picked up. And, definitely a good addition, at least to take.
How about his very first move on his first handoff? I mean, the guy comes flying through and he does the little spin move.
Yeah,
Still got it.
He still got it.
Still got it. And now if he could just get those pads lower, hey, who knows?
That'll come in time, I think.
And without Taylor Lewan last night, looked good. You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. When we get back, we're going to catch you up on everything else that happened over the weekend. Golden Gloves in baseball, hockey getting rid of some coaches, and then some new FBS teams. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs, and we're going to be right back.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Any Given Sunday isn't just a movie where you get to see Al Pacino give a locker room speech. It's also a time-tested cliche that describes how unpredictable NFL football can be. And yesterday was a great reminder of that. Any Given Sunday, the Broncos trade away Von Miller. They go to Dallas. It was supposed to be easy, right?
The Dan Patrick Show, weekdays 9 to 11 on ESPN, Northwest Florida.
Are you ready for some football? So are the folks at That Boot Store. They have the latest in Western outfits, along with brand names like Wolverine, Timberland Pro, and many others, including Ariat and Old Western for kids. That Boot Store loves the Noles, the Gators, the Tigers, the Bulldogs, and Joe's favorite, Roll Tide. That Boot Store, your team's favorite Western shop, next to Billboard Kia on 15th Street. Open Tuesday to Thursday, 9 to 5, Friday and Saturday, 9 to 5:30. Remember what Joe always said, keep Jesus in your heart every day.
Hi, I'm Bobby Likas with today's Car Clinic Minute. The warm beach sand. Great for playing volleyball, strolling hand in hand, and building sandcastles. But if you get stuck in it, it's no picnic. When I come back, I'll give you the scoop.
The Car Clinic Minute.
It's Bobby Likas Car Clinic, brought to you locally by Hewitt Tire and Auto.
Call 850-769-7323.
your certified AAA service center and hometown towing.
Visit them online at HewittTire.com.
On Airport Road in Panama City.
That's 850-769-7323. Hewitt Tire and Auto Center and Hometown Towing.
Like the expression suggests, spinning your wheels just gets you nowhere but deeper in trouble. Here's what to do. If your car sunk less than axle level, let some air out of your tires and gently ease forward. Then let your car roll back. Repeat this ease forward, roll back rocking until you've carved out a little runway. Then, with wheels straight, gently throttle out of the hole. But if you're in so deep your undercarriage is resting on the sand, too late. Keep cool while you wait for the tow truck. I'm Bobby Like Us. Like us, you'll love us.
The mission?
Your mission, should you decide to accept it.
Save the panhandle from boring cookie-cutter radio. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs. Live in the Slim Chicken studio.
The state will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
All right, you're back with the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes. We've got old school Boston Tim up in the building here in the Slim Chicken studio on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. And Auburn taking on Mississippi State this Saturday. Pregame starts at 10, kickoff at 11. Where should our listeners go to watch this ball game?
Well, you absolutely want to come out to 9875 South Thomas Drive at Pineapple Willie's.
Do you really have to give the address out? I mean, everybody knows where Pineapple Willie's
just in case it's somebody old driving, maybe over in their 60s in a green car, and they're just not certain. You can just say it right into your phone, right into the device, and it'll take you to Pineapple Willie's, where you can watch all of the sports packages, whether it's football or baseball or basketball, and especially the Auburn games on Saturday, where you'll get half off your appetizers.
Oh, speaking of appetizers,
if you let them know you heard it from ESPN, you get a free appetizer during the Auburn game, and $20 buckets of beers. You can't beat it.
No, I mean, if you're going to go to Pineapple Willie's, just follow my advice here. Order the nachos.
Oh, nachos.
My God, the nachos out there are phenomenal.
They'll have you saying those are nachos if somebody tries to reach over and grab some.
Nachos.
They're an island nacho. Ooh, so we got a delicious white queso that we put on top of our freshly made tortillas that we make every day fresh. And we've got a smoked pulled pork that goes on top of it with a house-made pineapple salsa, and it's delicious. And I actually also like to order a side of the Jack Daniel's sauce, which we also make in-house.
That's some of the best sauce there is, too.
And mix it with that pulled pork on the nachos, and it is phenomenal.
Oh,
and it is sizable.
Y'all are going to get me in trouble here. All right? Y'all are going
to in the sauce.
Oh, it's in the sauce.
Let's talk sports.
Come on down and check us out. More than 20 70-inch TVs. We'd love to have you guys. We packed out for the Ironman competition, and we're ready for you every day. Come see us.
Let's go, man. Yeah, more or less, it's not about the talking sports thing. Y'all are just getting me hungry over here. In the major,
we can go there right now.
All right, Randy, we're off here. In the world of Major League Baseball, the Cardinals have become the first team with 5 Gold Glove winners. You had first baseman Paul Goldschmidt, second baseman Tommy Edman, third baseman Nolan Arenado, center fielder Harrison Bader, and left fielder Tyler O'Neill getting that honor to be a Gold Glover. Arenado, that's his 9th Gold Glove, and that's his first one since he left Colorado last year, and this year with St. Louis. Old school. Let's just get into your argument real fast here before we move on. Do you have any
argument?
Yeah, if you have one.
My only argument is they're St. Louis Cardinals. I mean, it's like the world revolves around St. Louis. I mean,
we weren't hearing about this infield all year long. Whose infields were we hearing about all year long?
Well, I know who we talked about. The one that really mattered is the Braves infield.
Well, and then also there with the Astros with Bregman and Altuve and Correa and even Yuli over there. They had great infields as well.
So I don't understand. I mean, I don't know what the criteria is. I don't know. I think this is a writer's vote. And I don't know. I mean, they're all good players. Goldschmidt is not. I mean, he's not known for his defense. He's known for hitting
his
the long
slugging.
ball. Yeah.
It's like they couldn't give the silver slugger to him, so they had. We'll give you a Gold Glove.
I don't
Politics,
really, but
man.
I can't. At the same time, Adam Duvall won a Gold Glove.
Yeah.
But he finished the season playing center field. But they're saying that the center fielder from the St. Louis.
Yeah, but the way that they do the outfield Gold Gloves is just outfield, outfield, outfield. It's not necessarily center field, right field, left field.
Gotcha.
So it's major league managers and coaches do the voting.
Oh, the managers and the coaches. Okay, so.
And this started in
There's your
1957,
argument,
so we're 64 years into the award. That's interesting. I didn't realize that.
Did you think that it would have been around longer or a
I
shorter
thought it was
period
around a
of
little
time?
bit longer, yeah.
me
But
too.
I also didn't know, so that the rules are that they're voting only within their own league and unable to vote for players on their own teams. And they actually only count for 75% of the votes.
What's the other 20?
25% goes to our nemesis, the sabermetrics community.
I don't know if that's our nemesis. It's like our arm wrestling partners. We get stronger together by working with them. All right, let's get into some other things happening in the sports world real quick. Like Jacksonville State, who had the big win over Florida State. They're going to be entering the FBS with a new coach. They've got John Grass, who mutually agreed to part ways. So he's leaving with 2 games remaining this season, and they're going to be joining Conference USA to begin its transition from FCS to FBS. In the boxing world, Canelo Alvarez became the first undisputed 4-belt super middleweight world champion in boxing history when he stopped Caleb Plant in the 11th round with 2 knockdowns on Saturday night. I did not watch any of this, so I can't tell you anything about it, but Canelo Alvarez is a champion, 4-belt champion.
4-belt, 6-time champion, undisputed, probably the best in any weight class as of right now. It wasn't even the best match of the night either. There was a couple of, it was probably the best boxing match event that we've seen in the last 4 or 5 years from top to bottom.
With all of the exhibition stuff we've been dealing with.
It was very impressive, and especially the way to finish the way that he did against a fighter as convincing as Plant has been. It just goes to show the separation that Canelo has on the rest of the community of boxing. He's just very, very impressive and really in a league of his own.
Oh, Thug Rose fought at 268. I didn't watch any 268. I mean, I'll get back to UFC after about February.
I'm ready. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, no. Well, first start off with just talk about the whole card, UFC 268.
Well, I mean,
what you took away from it.
We won't talk about the prelims, but just starting at 268 in the pay-per-view portion of the event, the Chandler and Gaethje fight was probably one of the best fights you'll see in the last 8 to 10 years.
I like watching.
It was unbelievable. There was the odds of them going the distance was like 40-1.
So was Gaethje the?
They're both knockout artists, right? So everybody expected there to be some form of a knockout. Chandler and Gaethje both have had 2 to 3 knockouts in their last 4 fights each, and both of them have had 1 loss. So it was huge going in here, and to see the domination that Gaethje had, but the will and heart that Chandler had was just impressive. It was awesome. I was very excited to see it. We saw some guys.
Who come away with the win?
Gaethje did.
Oh, man.
Yes.
Oh, man.
He injured Chandler's leg early on in the fight, so it was hard for him to stand and have weight behind his punches. So he ended up dominating in the end, but it was an unbelievable showing of heart on both sides. And we saw guys that are probably at the end stages for themselves, like Frankie Edgar came out and fought, and he kind of took a good beating. The Rose fight was very, very good.
I love her personality. I don't know what it is about Rose Namajunas or whatever, but she is fun to.
And she fought Kim, who is actually a little bit older of a lady who has fought a lot in her life, but not in the UFC. And she put on a great fight. We didn't get to see a lot up from her in Rose in the first fight because it was only 78 seconds long. So seeing them go the distance this time was very impressive. They both had a strong argument for whether or not they won the fight, but being that Rose was the championship, she had to retain the belt, I thought. So it will certainly see a third fight out of them. Overall, it was a great UFC event. I was very impressed.
How was the main event between Usman and Covington?
It was better than expected.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Usman has been dominating everybody.
Yeah, right.
I mean, he is unbelievable. He's either tied or about to tie Anderson Silva with the best starting streak in the history of the UFC. And Dana White himself just compared him and said that he may be, if not already as good as, possibly better than George St. Pierre. So giving that comparison from anybody, let alone from Dana White.
Yeah, because he don't just throw around words like that.
Right. And so we saw Cody Covington come in, and he has really saved his career verbally, not necessarily in the ring, but becoming somebody that's an adversary for other players or other fighters has really put him out there. And he's been more of a punching bag, I think. But in this particular fight, while he did not really win any round at all, he certainly came out as a much better, more prepared fighter for this fight, and probably gave up the best fight that anybody has given Usman.
Yeah,
especially
outside
in the
of
last 4 or 5
his
fights.
lone loss. When did Usman lose that first fight? Because he's 20-1 and he's won 19 fights in a row.
Before he joined the UFC, it was in the lower.
Okay. All right. So do you think that these guys will fight for a third time? Because I know Colby wants to, but Usman's won both of the first 2. What's the point in the trilogy?
Colby would have to go back and fight some of the guys that have also contended for the belt in the previous 2 or 3 years, like Jorge Masvidal, who lost 2 times, with one of them being probably one of the greatest knockouts we've seen in the last 5 or 10 years. So it all comes down to going back and really you have to give other guys an opportunity, especially after losing 2 consecutive.
No doubt. Let's get to and if you'd like to see some local MMA, December 4th.
That's right.
Laketown Wharf.
Live.
Be down at the beach 22.
Right. This will be a pro-am also, so we're very excited about bringing some pro fighters in this time and holding some very, very highly anticipated cards that we've been waiting a little over a year to hold, so we're excited about it.
I am excited about that as well. That's going to be Saturday, December 4th, so there's going to be a parade that day. There's going to be down at the beach, SEC Championship. There's going to be so many things going on that Saturday. You don't want to miss it. In the world of golf, old school, Victor Hovland won again on the PGA Tour, this time in the Worldwide Technology Championship at Mayakoba on Sunday. That's back-to-back for Hovland there.
And decisively, too.
Yeah, I mean, and the weird part is on Thursday morning, Hovland's out on the range warming up, and a buddy of his walks up and he says, "Here, hit this new driver that I've got." He said, "I'm loving this thing, man. This thing is hot. You got to hit it." So the guy hits it and breaks it.
No way.
Yeah, he breaks it. So Hovland's then got to play that round without a driver. Of course, they make him up another one, but it goes on. But Hovland is just a ball strike fool. I mean, that guy. We saw it in the Ryder Cup. I mean, that guy. He played for Oklahoma State. He's a very, very, very good player, and for him to hold off the guys that he held off on Sunday was impressive. Scotty Scheffler, Ryder Cup. We saw him in the Ryder Cup. Justin Thomas. None of them were able to get closer than 3 shots. And Hovland's just he's a finisher, and he's still so young. This is only his 3rd year. Big things for him. He's going to be a major champion before long.
Absolutely, and like you said, he's young. He comes out of a small country, not specifically known, Norway, for huge golfers in the PGA or even in the European Tour. And so for him to come out, be an oddity in the golf world, like he is, it's really good to see. He just broke into the top 10 rankings now. He's at number 10 in the world, number 4 in the FedEx Cups. And to watch the consistency in which he strikes the ball is super impressive, because it's not like he's a Bryson DeChambeau. He's not somebody who looks like a football player like myself that goes out there at 6'3" and 240. Right. He's 5'9" and 150 pounds. He's just a regular average guy, but his consistency and his skill is just, it's another level.
His skill has always been on display. When he was at Oklahoma State, there was a lot, when guys were coming out, is it going to be Victor Hovland? Is it going to be Michael Wolff? Who's going to be the guy is it going to be Xander Schauffele? So there's a lot of guys, and Victor has come out and played very, very well. Honestly, was the best player on the European team at the Ryder Cup.
I'd like to take this time to let you know that you need to get the 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida app, if nothing else, just to click it to win it. Congratulations to Zach and Trent. They both won a 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida t-shirt just by opening the ESPN Northwest Florida app. If you don't have it already, download the ESPN Northwest Florida app at Google Play or the Apple Store, then click it to win it. We'll be right back with some local high school football and more.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Colin Cowherd. So, new rule from this point forward. Sometimes quarterbacks are better. Dak without Dez. Baker without OBJ. Folks, it's not about collecting talent, as Belichick says. You're building a team. This team's never needed OBJ. They've got two excellent tight ends. This is The Herd. And the story out today.
Weekdays 9 to 11 on ESPN, Northwest Florida.
My weather forecast overnight: clear skies, light winds for the northeast, 50 to 55 for the low. This double dose of high pressure is going to continue to sit on us Tuesday and Wednesday. That'll give us partly to mostly sunny skies. Temperatures not bad in the afternoon, about 70 to 75. Light northeast winds Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll keep you updated. This weather forecast has been brought to you by All About Garage Doors, your garage door repair specialist. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
Don't go through the fall months with joint pain. Call QC Kinetics now. Regenerative solutions are here, bringing lasting relief from joint pain with no downtime, no surgery, no steroids. QC Kinetics use natural biological therapies that restore, repair, damaged tissues in your knees, shoulders, hip, and back. Patients are raving about the results. You don't have to live with chronic pain. And don't think surgery is your only option. Call QC Kinetics now. Learn about these exciting natural alternatives. Hey, you've heard football legend Emmitt Smith talk about QC. It's time to see what it's all about. Fall is a time to enjoy life to the fullest. Act now. Restorative therapies are available here and in the office. Consultation is free. Call QC Kinetics 850-270-3939. Non-surgical joint pain relief. 850-270-3939.
Kings by Blood Cleaners is your go-to for the cleaning of your office, home, or condo. Ready to remodel? Let Kings by Blood Cleaners do the demo work for you. Clean up or clean out commercial, foreclosure of homes, apartment complexes, and commercial buildings. Contact Kings by Blood Cleaners for a local, no-obligation free estimate. Kings by Blood Cleaners offers 7 days a week service so that it's convenient for you. They do things the way your grandmammy used to do it. Call Kings by Blood Cleaners 850-704-8470.
Live from the Slim Chicken studio, you're riding shotgun with the Afternoon Underdogs. We're going to need some gas money. The Afternoon Underdogs.
You gotta try the chicken at this gas station.
On 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the Slim Chicken studio. Give us a call on the Rib Crib hotline, 850-215-6290. 6290. 850-215-6290. Give us a call and bring anything that you want up. Let's talk sports. Mississippi State at Auburn this Saturday. 10 o'clock pregame, 11 a.m. kickoff. If you need your oil changed, where would be the ideal destination?
Well, I mean, if you're out there watching your kids practice or you're at a football game across from Pete Edwards Field, you'll see Hollywood Drive. And down there at the end on your 2 o'clock, you'll see Certified Gearhead Motorsports. It's just an unbelievable spot owned by a local, Adam Nitz. You know, he's a great, hard-working mechanic. We're very fortunate to have him in our community. They're the home of the $30 synthetic oil change. So bring your car down there and get in the door with the oil change. And, you know, there's nothing that Adam can't take care of for you on your car over there. So give him a holler and check him out at the end of Hollywood Drive at Certified Gearhead Motorsports.
And we've got about 8 more minutes or so that you can send your Beat the Underdog scores in. We haven't got any yet. Bears at the Steelers. Send us who you think is going to win, followed by the score for the tiebreaker. Arnold Boys Swim and Dive Team earned state runner-up. Here's the team and individual results. Boys Medley Relay, first in prelims with a minute and 30 seconds. 36 seconds. First in the finals with 1 minute and 34 seconds. Boys 200 freestyle, they were first in the prelims and first in the finals with about 1 minute and 25 seconds. Hank Cry in the 100 fly was 11th in prelims, 13th in the finals. In the 500 free was 12th in the prelims and 16th in the finals. Luke Maggiore was in the 50 free was 3rd in prelims, 4th in the finals. In the 100 breast was 1st in prelims, 2nd in the finals. Colin McKelsey. I like that. That sounds good. And the 200 IM, Boston Sim, what does IM mean?
Individual medley.
Yeah.
Individual medley.
They swim all 4 strokes.
7th in prelims, 7th in the finals. In the 100 breast, they were 3rd in the third in the prelims, 3rd in the finals. Shane McKelsey was 200 in the 200 individual medley, was 2nd in prelims, 1st in the finals. In the 100 fly was 2nd in prelims, 1st in the finals. Ben Parsons in the 200 freestyle, 16th in the prelims, 16th in the finals. In the 100 freestyle, he was 16th in the prelim, 10th in the finals. And then Preston Tomisiewicz. Good stuff there. In the dive, he placed 10th in state. Mosley Volleyball makes Bay County history. They've advanced to the Final Four here in the state of Florida. They defeated Ridgeview 3-1 to become the first volleyball team in Bay County history to reach the Final Four. With that win, they advanced to the 5A semifinal match where they will host Vanguard. That's next Saturday, November 13th. As Boston Tim said earlier, we had the Ironman triathlon in Panama City Beach this last Saturday. Over 2,000 triathletes participated in this. Gustav Iden from Norway was the top male finisher, and Heather Jackson from Oregon was the top female finisher. And we've got some playoff brackets released. We'll get into the brackets and matchups tomorrow. Today we'll just get into the seeding. In 1A, in the class of 1A, Bluntstown, they're the number 1 seed in Region 2. Port St. Joe, they're the number 2 seed in Region 2. Chipley is the number 2 seed in Region 1. Holmes County, number 3 seed in Region 1. Liberty County, the 4th seed in Region 2. Sneads is the 5th seed in Region 2. Bozeman is the 5th seed in Region 1. Freeport, 6th seed in Region 1. And Wewall comes in as the 6th seed in the 2nd region. In 3A, Walton, the 2nd seed in Region 1. In Class 4A, South Walton having a heck of a season. They're the 1st seed in the 1st region. Mariana is the 5th seed in the 1st region. And when it comes to 6A, Mosley, the number 2 seed in Region 1, they're taking on Gulf Breeze. That should be a heck of a battle. Congratulations to all of our schools who made it into the postseason in high school football. That's a tremendous accomplishment, and it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of sacrifice to get to that point in the season. Don't take it for granted. Live in each moment and enjoy this time, because when you're done, it's done. And then you got to pick up slow pitch softball, or hopefully you're good enough to make it to college at any level.
Men's
D1,
over
D2.
35 soccer. Good luck tonight, cousin.
Oh, yeah. So where are you headed to right after this?
Panama City Beach Sports Complex. Marcus Blue, my guy, Micah Scribner, and my cousin Mark Costa all joined the over 35 soccer league. They'll be out there tonight at 6:30 at their first game. So if you guys want to come out and check us out, we'd love to see you. Yeah,
and if you're looking up at the sky tonight around 9:30, you might be able to see something re-entering the atmosphere. So I think that has to do with
Solaire's home run coming back down?
No, that one's still out there floating around. All right, we got Paul Feinbaum coming up next. Next Monday, we should have some Monday Night Football for you. And I think we're trying to get Thursday Night Football in that rotation as well. You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, where the Afternoon Underdogs. Enjoy Paul Feinbaum coming up next.
ESPN Northwest Florida. More you.
Auburn football is